This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
Just when you thought it couldn't be worse. Just when you thought to yourself, you know what, the Mets have been playing some mediocre baseball this season. They can't get much worse than what they're currently getting. Enter tonight where the New York Metropolitans muster 15 hits, 9 earned runs. How can you not feel electric, absolutely juiced to the gills about that? Only to find out you still lose in extra innings by a final score of 10-9, folks. How you doing, everybody? Appreciate you all for chiming into the latest postgame coverage here on WardyNYM. We are not only the #1 Mets postgame show on YouTube, we are the largest Mets platform, not directly affiliated with the Mets or SNY. And it's all thanks to you amazing followers here on the channel for smashing that like and subscribe button and being the amazing supporters you are. But folks, I gotta say, I'm not only concerned with the Mets right now, I'm concerned with you. Why are you going to go out your way to bother to watch this Mets team right now? Why are you going to even go out your way to watch a recap from a schmuck like myself, outside of the fact that we're sick-minded fans, and no matter how much we want to get away from it, the Mets always reel us back in. Again, we're all pulling the Al Pacino, right? Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. That's how you feel every single time with this Mets team. They're like, you know what? All right, I got to go drink now. And then tomorrow you're like, what time do they play? That is literally Mets fandom in a nutshell, folks. They had so many things working for them on the offensive end tonight, and unfortunately I wasn't able to go live for my typical post-game coverage right after the game and interact with you guys, but we're doing the pre-recorded video right around midnight here at the time of recording this Eastern. So again, smash those buttons if you haven't already, because while the Mets again might be faltering, your boy will continue to stay consistent here covering the Metropolitans. No matter win, lose, draw, it does not matter. We're going to continue to roll as we always do. If the Mets aren't going to show up, at least I can, right? At least one of us is going to carry the weight in that regard, folks. And we're going to break down inning by inning how the Mets have themselves their biggest choke job so far this season. And I'm talking choke job so bad that you're lying on the floor with a bright purple face. You call you're going to call 911 right away. At least your loved one does, but it's too late. He's dead. He's been dead. There's no way to get him back. That is how bad the Mets choked in this matchup, folks. So let's break down inning by inning how we got here. My biggest takeaways with Edwin Diaz, yet another blown situation. Edwin has all the confidence gone right now. Why is he struggling as much as he is right now? How concerned should we be? And is it officially panic time if it hasn't been warranted already here in Queens? Which is a crazy statement to make here. Again, not even in the month of June. 5 games below 500, tying your season worst going back to the beginning of the season. How can I not be disgruntled with the Mets' performance so far? How can I not be gutted? When I saw Edwin Diaz, Jake Diekman do what they did, folks, I was almost at a loss for words. You know, it feels like we've seen everything in Mets land, everything in Mets fandom. We have went through, pardon my French, hell and back with this team. Even if you're a younger, less seasoned fan like myself versus a more seasoned fan, one that's more marinated, that's been a Mets fan for at least 40 plus years. We are all going through this trauma together, folks, and the Mets managed again on a night where you had a 9-5 lead going into the 9th effing inning. Also, apologies, I get a little hot-headed, I get a little ranty, I definitely say some profanity sometimes, so if you're a kiddo, put on those earmuffs, do it right for dad and mom, appreciate that. Let's break down now again how the Mets managed to have 15 hits, 9 earned runs, and still lose an effing ball game. Step right up and meet the Mets. Oh my god, okay. Let's get into this one. Let's break it down. Why are we all suffering from the latest PTSD? That is thanks to this New York Metropolitan team. And it begins that we will see there in the first inning, folks, where I will say the Mets lineup today I liked. It was different. Carlos Mendoza continues to mix it up. Francisco Lindor, for the first time this season's batting leadoff. I like that. Mark Vientos in that lineup as well. Marky V had a great day. Again, the Florida native. JD Martinez, who I said a couple shows ago will have a big series here in Miami, who's also a Florida native. He has done exactly that thus far. A lot of the guys I expected to propel offensively in this matchup certainly did that, but what I didn't have on my bingo card was the Mets coughing up the lead significantly, as much as they did, as frequent as they did. So we're going to get into everything inning by inning, as you guys and gals can see right here. Give me 1 second just to pull this up for you all properly in case you're unaware. And as always, shout out to my amazing sponsors at BetUS, America's #1 sportsbook. Check them out by clicking the links down below. As always, folks, same applies with Sorare MLB, the best MLB fantasy game out there. We'll get to them a little bit later in the show. And of course, let me know your initial raw reactions down below to the worst loss yet for the New York Metropolitans this season. faltering by a final score of 10-9 in extra innings against the Miami Marlins. The Mets tried to go fishing, but they came and they went and they got absolutely nothing. They just got seasick is what they got there fishing in Miami, doing that deep sea fishing. It means nothing when you cannot provide any type of victory against the worst team in Major League Baseball. The Mets might as well be the worst team in Major League Baseball the way that they have looked for the past month plus, the way that they have looked again in this series. You had offense, and yet you still cough it up to the degree in which you do. How can this happen? Why is this happening? Let's break it down. Again, I got the pitching stats for you. We're going to get into that in a second. Look at that again, that disgusting thing you call a slate from this pitching staff. When the pitching has carried the Mets so far this season, when they finally get offense, you know the old saying, when you hit, you ain't pitching. When you pitching, you ain't hitting. The Mets have nothing in unison. This reminded me so much of even that game where the Mets lost 8-7 to the Tampa Bay Rays because Jose Quintana couldn't get out of the third effing inning without allowing 8 earned runs, and the Mets rallied all the way back just to fall short by one measly runner. So not the case tonight. This one hurts even more because you had the lead. You had right around a 4-run lead entering the 9th inning or so, and you cough it up the way you do. How is what we're about to get into. On the hitting side, again, the same applies, folks. You had so many things rolling tonight on the offensive end, and still you have an L in the column to show for it. Let's break this game down inning by inning. Now, I am beyond fed up. Your boy Wardy right here is currently talking at May 19th for a May 18th game. I was already fed up so much with this Mets team this season that if your boy didn't cover them for a living, if your boy wasn't a sicko in the head that's a diehard fan, I would not be here right now. But the show must go on the same way that we have to break down why the Mets now have their worst loss of the season yet, and why it is in fact time to a degree for some Mets fans to panic. Maybe not in the way you initially think, however. We're going to get into that. When I say panic, I don't mean it that the sky is falling, that the season's over. Of course, you're going to, drill those in the comments down below. I promise you the season is not over. You still got so many more games to be had this year, and at 162, you're going to have more depressing losses than just this. I promise you, Mets fans, the worst has yet to come, which is an unfortunate thing to say, but still the best has yet to come with this Mets team too. That I feel very confident in saying. We saw strides in the right direction offensively, but pitching wise, something that again can be worked on, was not looking so hot to say the least. And again, the Miami Marlins! It's the Miami Marlins. There's no excuses. Still, there's none. It doesn't matter. It's the Miami effing Marlins. There's nothing to justify ever losing a series to the Marlins with the way that they currently are. Peter Bendix is going full-blown sell mode, their GM. Announced it. Literally, they said Skip Schumacher, their manager, when the season started, basically, that he will not return after the season's end. This is the same skipper that made playoffs in his first year as manager, coming over from the St. Louis Cardinals organization, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of things like there, and Miami's still blowing it up, but before they blow it up, they're still going to curb stop the Mets here. And as we start to break things down inning by inning, folks, again, Francisco Lindor was batting leadoff today. To give you guys a quick riff of the lineup there, Lindor in leadoff, Alonso batting second, Brandon Nimmo batting third, JD Martinez, who I absolutely love, batting fourth. Batting fifth was Mark Vientos. Batting sixth is Starling Marte. Batting seventh is Harrison Bader, had a great day. Jeff McNeil batting eighth, and Tomas Nido batting ninth. Again, the Mets had 15 hits and still managed to lose this ball game. I'm sweating bullets just over the fact that they still managed to do this. I've calmed down quite a bit from the hours ago when the Mets initially lost, and I was literally screaming my head off. Literally, I kid you not. It was not a fun sight whatsoever. It was exactly what you think I would react if you guys know me and you know how I react to tough losses, especially in the manner in which the way the Mets lost tonight. But it starts there in the first inning because Francisco Lindor gets hit by a pitch, and then Pete Alonso with the single that we see there in the first. JD Martinez with the quick early offense there gets the Mets' first run of the day thanks to a single. That makes it 1-0, and then Mark Vientos follows it up with a single himself. The Mets had no home runs today, but were fantastic with their contact hitting. They beat up on Braxton Garrett and did a fantastic job in doing so. Lots to love and lots to be proud about there. But again, you're up early 2-0. There was a hit by pitch with Starling Marte, but then that does it for the inning. As we then get to the bottom of the first, Luis Severino again is on the bump today. Sevy was strong in many aspects, and he also was a problem in certain aspects. We'll get to that here shortly. No less, again, Sevy has a nice 1-2-3 first. In the second, the Mets don't do anything there. Offensively there for the Marlins, they get their offense started after a Jesus Sanchez leadoff walk. How many times have we seen leadoff walks come back to bite the Mets in the ass? It feels like pretty much every single game, at least one, if not multiple times. That was the first example already in the bottom of the second. Sevy, whose stuff is awesome when he's right, just struggles to command the strike zone sometimes. And when he struggles to command the strike zone, he allows those walks to then become runs, unfortunately. That was the case here. Jesus Sanchez with the walk. Nick Gordon with an RBI double makes it a one-run ball game. And just after that, again, the Mets have themselves a double thanks to Mark Vientos with his second hit of the day already in the third, cannot drive him in, however. So they are up 2-1 as we get to the bottom of the third, where Jazz Chisholm, who will not be a Miami Marlin past the trade deadline, I have a gut feeling he's going to Toronto. I'm calling that right now. Said on Bleacher Report just over the past week or so. If you know, you know. Jazz Chisholm rips his 6th home run of the year, unfortunately. They're off of Sevy. That ties the ball game 2-2. Then as we get to the 4th inning, Jeff McNeil with a single. Jeff McHitz was there today, folks. But again, some frustration with him as well. Tomas Nido, who had himself a couple hits today, which we love to see. That is my backup catcher, especially when Francisco Alvarez is back. Get that bum, aka Omar Narvaez, off my ball club. There's nothing to justify. Steve Cohen can eat that $8 million salary as dead weight for breakfast, the way that Omar has been playing, or lack thereof. Nido with the single as well. McNeil will then go on to steal third base, and that would be huge for the Mets because Francisco Lindor would ground out, and that would give the Mets the 3-2 lead. Afterwards, Alonso would strike out, unfortunately, to end the inning. In the bottom of the 4th, Nick Gordon with the single, second hit of the day. That's all she wrote, though. We then get to the 5th. Brandon Nimmo, who, of course, is back in the lineup after missing the past 48 hours with a stomach bug. He's batting second today behind Lindor, which was very interesting. Again, the Mets had a lot of success with the offensive configuration today. They just, unfortunately, the one night where you had everything going offensively, you also had everything not going on the pitching end because this is New York Metropolitan Baseball. Nimmo with the hit by pitch there that we saw. Mark Vientos with a walk. Starling Marte with the single. Again, you got yourself bases low there for the Mets. Braxton Garrett comes out. Declan Cronin, the reliever, comes in, and Harrison Bader makes him pay with a 2-run single. It becomes a 5-2 Metropolitan lead at that point. Bader says, I want more offense, baby. He then steals second base, and Jeff McNeil, more like Jeff McHitz, drives him in with his second hit of the day, his first RBI. McNeil makes it a 7-2 ball game. Jeff, again, who had some solid at-bats today, he has frustrated me as all hell, like many guys on this roster so far this season. But McNeil, I'm not going to gripe about too much today, at least on the offensive end. It could have been worse. And what could have been worse, certainly, as we get into breaking down the ballgame in the bottom of the 5th, thankfully, again, there is a Brujan walk, and that's all she wrote. Sevy is through 5 strong innings. And the 6th inning, Pete Alonso with a single. That's all she wrote, though. Then the bottom of 6, Josh Bell single, but that's all she wrote. Luis Severino's given up 2 earned runs throughout the first 6 innings. He's going to the 7th. You're getting excited about that after Starling Marte has a single in the top of the 7th. The Mets can't do anything else there. The Mets, again, are up 7-2 at this point in the ball game, folks. Then the bottom of the 7th, this is where things really start to unravel. Luis Severino gives up yet again a leadoff walk, this time to Nick Gordon, who got on base for the 3rd time today at that point. Then Otto Lopez drives in Miami's 3rd run of the game thanks to an RBI double, just his 3rd of the season. And then Jazz Chisholm rips an RBI single to make it a 7-4 ball game. Then from there, we see Reed Garrett come in to replace Luis Severino at that point. Again, unfortunately, Sevy was not able to get the job done there in the inning. And Reed Garrett, who I absolutely love, has just been absolutely horrendous when inheriting runners. When it's Reed Garrett's runners, he's good. He's going to get them out, the sweeper and the splitty. But when he's inheriting runners, things are not looking good. And that is exactly why Sevy got charged with as much as he did. Because then we see a Brian De La Cruz single. Josh Bell with an RBI single makes it a 2-run deficit for Miami here in the 7th inning. Thankfully, we get out of that jam beyond that, so it's a 7-5 ball game heading to the 8th inning. The Mets go down in order in the 8th, and the bottom of the 8th for Adam Ottavino, we would see their Marlins challenge a playoff first. The call was upheld. Jake Berger would go on to ground out there, and thankfully, it would be a 1-2-3 inning for Adam Ottavino. So you're telling me, as we get to the 9th inning where Brandon Nimmo rips himself a doubles, 8th of the season, JD Martinez drives him in with, again, a beautiful double of his own going back-to-back in the lineup. JDM has looked fantastic. I cannot wait to break down more on his game here shortly, but the Mets are up 8-5. Then we see a pinch runner, and Tyrone Taylor comes in for JD Martinez, and that would be key, because Starling Marte then, again, has himself an RBI double. Marte with a nice day at the plate to the former Miami Marlin as well. 9-5, the Mets have the lead. Jeff McNeil with a walk, and that does it for the inning, unfortunately, because both Tomas Nido will reach on a fielder's choice, but then Francisco Lindor would ground into a force out, and that would end the inning. So, the Mets are up 9-5 as we get to the bottom of the 9th. Edwin Diaz, who has blown his past couple save opportunities, comes in. Again, it's 9-5. It's a non-save situation even, or it's right around. I'm pretty sure that beyond 3 runs means it's non-save, but if I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments down below. Won't be offended. I'm a baseball fan, diehard fan, but I could be wrong every now and then. We're all schmucks here at the end of the day. No less, again, we see Edwin Diaz comes in there in the 9th inning, and all hell breaks loose. Why? Because Edwin Diaz, and I love you, Sugar, he's not the guy he was in 2022. He is definitely struggling mentally right now, and he is handing that slide piece like no tomorrow. He gives up a ground roll double to Brujan to kick off the inning. Then after that, we would see pinch hitter Emmanuel Rivera replaces Nick Fortes. He would pop out, thankfully, but Jazz Chisholm rips an RBI single to make it a 3-run ball game. You're thinking, okay, it's not the end of the world. The Mets are still in this, but Edwin is not making it easy. And I will never forget, there's one guy on Twitter I saw earlier today when the Mets were heading to the 9th, how much you want to bet Edwin Diaz blows this? And I don't know if it's his fault directly for that or what it was, but that's insane how that unfortunately became a reality yet again. Brian De La Cruz with the single. Josh Bell with a 3-run ding-dong and a slide piece that, again, he barreled like no tomorrow. Again, the fastball was working well for Edwin today, but the slider, not so much. It was completely flat. That ties the ball game. They're 9-9. Edwin Diaz's ERA has now jumped to 5.5 or so on the season. We love Edwin. Edwin is not completely cooked. Anyone that thinks he is not paying attention. He has had the mental toughness. He is going to bounce back from this, I'm confident, but it could not have come at a worse time. Two things can be true. Edwin Diaz can very much so, again, have an underwhelming and up and down season his first year back and over a year with injury. That isn't shocking, especially for a reliever. Regardless of how good your stuff is and how much money you're making, it doesn't change the fact that relievers will be relievers at the end of the day. They will still be roller coasters plenty of the times. And unfortunately for Edwin, when you have a flat slider, that becomes a reality. And Edwin spoke post-game today and said that, one, he's willing to even pitch in non-save situations. He just wants to help the team win, which is great. He has the right mentality, the right head on his shoulders. And Edwin has been through, again, hell and back with this Mets team, going back to 2019 when he blew every save imaginable. Then in 2020, was looking solid in the short campaign. 2021, Edwin was solid as long as he didn't pitch him on back-to-back days or in non-save situations. If he did that, he was horrendous. Or if he gave up an expected batting average home run, grand slam to walk it off there for the Pirates, 0.035, the way that I unfortunately was sitting front row my one and only time at PNC Park in Pittsburgh to witness that Edwin Diaz giving up the walk-off grand slam to Jacob effing Stallings. And then we get to 2022, Edwin is the most unhittable pitcher in Major League Baseball. 2023, we see the tear there in the knee, and now we fast forward to today. So Edwin still has the stuff. It was flat tonight, that we know, but before everyone goes the lengths of saying that Edwin Diaz is a bum, he's back to being the schmuck that he was, all these things, all I would preface is this guy has went through a lot with this Mets team in his early tenure, and he has been through a lot mentally and has overcome a lot mentally. Edwin is one of these few examples who came into Queens struggling mightily and then became the most dominant reliever in Major League Baseball. That is not an easy thing to do from 2019 to 2022, but Edwin managed to do that. And even if 2022 becomes that anomaly of a season for Edwin's tenure as a New York Metropolitan, it doesn't change the fact that he took a lot to get there, the same way that I promise you he will be better, much better than what you saw tonight. Edwin will be, again, we're talking, you cannot simply miss him when he goes out there. You know how much we've always viewed Edwin as that highlight reel as soon as he comes out there when Narco playing the trumpets and everything? That will become apparent again. But in tonight's game, when the Mets were already down 4 games below 500, and they finally had offense working, this was not the time to put Edwin Diaz, even though it made a lot of sense there, still up 9-5 entering this inning or so. Again, I can't even fault Carlos Mendoza that much because naturally you're not going to think he's going to blow it to that magnitude, and yet he still did. So the Mets, again, it's a tie ball game, 9-9, and then as, of course, we get to extra innings, that's all she wrote. Again, Jorge Lopez gives up a single to Otto Lopez in the bottom of the 10th, and that's the ball game, folks. The Mets drop this one by a final score of 10-9, folks. And when I tell you, I'm not only discouraged by this type of loss, this is a gutless loss that makes so many fans completely turn off with the team for either a very long period of time, a stretch period of time, a couple days. All I know is I expect viewership to be down universally across the board with some of my content over the next week plus if the Mets do not get themselves going right, because why do you have an interest level in watching the Mets right now? There's nothing to justify it with the way that they are inconsistently playing right now. Even when you had offense, even when you had, again, some fantastic offensive outings like tonight here, folks. Let's just take a brief look on the offensive outing. This was not the problem. This was far from it, but the issue is that the Mets, the vast majority of their losses all season long has been the offense, has been the inconsistency. Again, the one effing time you finally get offense. I'm even voice cracking out here. That's how pissed off I am. You get nothing to show for it in the win column. You see Francisco Lindor batting leadoff, a whole lot of nothing, had the RBI ground out, 190 average, 617 OPS, needs to be better. That is trash. Pete Alonso, 2 for 6, 230 average, 762 OPS, needs to be better. Brandon Nimmo, 1 for 4 with 3 runs scored and a double, 216 average, 761 OPS. Love you, Brandon. Happy to have you back there from the stomach bug. We then see JD Martinez, 2 for 5 there with the double and the 2 RBIs, 315 average, 825 OPS. As it was referenced yesterday in Tim Healy's latest article with Newsday discussing how much JDM has positively impacted Alonso and others, he is a true hitting savant, and today was yet another example of exactly that. JDM is hitting exactly how you want him to be. We just want a little bit more home run, but the gap-to-gap was there today, and that was awesome. Far from the Mets' biggest concern at the moment. If anything, one of the few upsides and one of the few bright spots. Then we see Mark Vientos look fantastic again. I got to give a lot of credit where credit's due. Mark Vientos was not only great offensively today, but he made some really smart decisions defensively at third, which is a great strides in the right direction. Mark Vientos, 2 for 4 with the run scored and the double and the RBI, 333 average, 962 OPS so far this season, and a very limited sample size. Starling Marte with a big offensive day, 3 for 4 with the run scored and the RBI double, 266 average and a 692 OPS. We love that from Marte. Harrison Bader, 1 for 5 with the run scored, but that clutch, again, that one hit was a absolutely pivotal hit. Pretty sure it was up the middle too. Harrison Bader drives in those 2 runs, 273 average, 644 OPS on the season. Jeff McNeil, 2 RBIs, 2 hits himself, 239 average, 628 OPS. And then we see Tomasito, 2 for 5 with a 232 average and 563 OPS. As I'm breaking this down now, folks, let me know down below in the comments, out of every offensive performance by the Mets today, which stood out the most to you and why? If there's any positive that we could possibly take from a game like tonight, it is the great offense that the Mets had. So let me know again in the comments down below who stood out the most to you offensively and what has otherwise been a horrendous time in Mets land. We are talking scraping bottom of the barrel bad. This is below pond scum bad, folks, the way that the Mets are playing inconsistently so far this season. And before we get on to a bit more on the pitching end, I gotta let you guys and gals know about our amazing sponsors here on the channel, folks. And let's start with my great friends here, in case you guys don't know already, at Sorare MLB. Because in case you guys don't know Sorare MLB is the best MLB fantasy game out there. You can sign up for free today by clicking my link down below. We just gave away a bunch of awesome Mets tickets on the channel over the past couple weeks just for signing up to Sorare MLB Fantasy and entering a free tournament. So basically, in a nutshell, if you guys like the video game MLB The Show, where you are your own GM, you're building your own roster, and you're competing against people online, that is basically the same premise here, but in actual live fantasy. So you acquire draft virtual cards in which they vary in rarity. So if you're going to be making your team better as you go, you can buy, sell, and trade these cards on the marketplace, either with random people online or with, again, your friends. It's that easy to do. We've had a lot of fun here with Sorare MLB over the past year on the channel, where we've done many tournaments together. I played a bit against a lot of you guys in these tournaments. But you build these rosters, and how these rosters perform, your team, is based on how the players perform in real life. So as you see, my current roster, not looking too great. Again, Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, and Zach Wheeler is awesome. But when I have, Edwin Diaz, Brandon Nimmo, even though Nimmo wasn't horrendous there because Nimmo was productive today, Brett Beatty, Luis Severino, when I have too much homer picks, things are not going to go in my favor. So currently, I'm not looking the best in my current tournament at the moment, but if you enter these weekly tournaments and your team does well based on how they perform in real life, then you will have a chance to win cash prizes in these tournaments. Hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. Mets ticket giveaways like we just did on the channel and will again in the future, or whatever it may be giveaway-wise. We just have so much to offer with our great friends at Sorare MLB. Again, it is the best fantasy game out there today. It is so interactive, and again, what separates it from the rest is the simple fact that you are literally playing a game. You can own these unique virtual cards on the blockchain that, again, if you are a card collector, even virtually, if you enjoy those kind of things, this is definitely appealing to you. You're being your own GM, you're building your roster, and you can change your cards, upgrade or downgrade your team however which way you want. You can ride hot streaks of players when they're on absolute heaters. So in the case of, whether it was a Bryce Harper, again, someone that's really hot right now, like Gunnar Henderson on my team, you can hammer, again, change your laps significantly each week, as long as you guys, of course, have the ability to do so by redrafting your team and by upgrading your cards, which you can again, buy and sell for real dollars on the marketplace. So if you haven't already, sign up with our great friends at Silver MLB today, and thank you so much as always for hearing them out. But as we get back into this one now, folks, let's take a moment, let's talk about the pitching, and shout out as always to my man Isaac Rothman with the fantastic pitching analysis. As always, we have a lot to break down from this one. Isaac Rothman is a great friend of mine, big supporter on the channel. He's a contributor, and he gives me nice little pitching reports that goes beyond the eye test, if you will. And a lot of this information you can find in Baseball Savant, among others. Make sure to follow my man Isaac at Isaac Groffman, ISAAC, I believe, Groffman, Groffman, on Twitter. He is fantastic with pitching threads, breaking down what's been going wrong with Edwin Diaz and others. And with Edwin, it was simply put, he had a flat slider today, and that absolutely cooked the Mets, unfortunately, in the worst time possible. But as we look to Luis Severino briefly, again, the Arsenal four-seam fastball 36% of the time, sweeper 19%, sinker 16%, slide piece 11%, cutter 9%, and changeup 9%. Sevy is still using his fastball more than just about anyone else in the league, which is awesome. He's having success with it. The sweeper was his main secondary pitch and had a 50% whiff rate. And Sevy's sweeper also has 129 stuff plus, which means that a league average for that pitch, the sweeper, is 100 across the board for anyone that pitches it. That at 129 means it's roughly 30% better than the league average, which is great to see. And what's very interesting about his sweeper is that it has a 140 stuff plus against left-hand hitters. A sweeper is usually more effective when thrown same-handedness to the same-handedness hitter, but not Sevy. Very interesting how he has more success with the sweeper as well against those lefties, especially if he gets them, a little bit back foot there with the slide piece. We love to see that. The 5 runs given up really don't reflect Sevy's outing today. The walks, yes, those walks are the biggest bugaboo for him, but all in all, if Reed Garrett just didn't blow things the way that he did when he got in there, Sevy wouldn't have had as bad of an outing as he did. Again, not the prettiest outing from Luis Severino, but far from the biggest problem for this team right now, I'd argue. Just gotta get those walks down and hopefully have a reliever next time go out there and take care of business and not cough up all the runs the way that we have unfortunately seen more of a commonplace thing of a recent with guys like Reed Garrett. And speaking of Reed Garrett, none of his pitches were bad, but Josh Bell was able to make contact on the splitter below the zone, and that was a big difference. Ottavino, of course, pitches were moving as usual, and he did his job with the sweeper. Diaz's slider, as we know, was flat today, and he had a much less vertical break on it, but he did show more confidence that we did see in his fastball, throwing it up in the zone and hitting 99. But after an outing like this, his confidence is completely shot. He said it himself post-game, and that's why I hope that Edwin, again, can get in a proper mindset. Again, even if you have to consider potentially giving him almost, and shout out my man Jolly All for tweeting this, it's an interesting thought, potentially giving Edwin a slight break in minor leagues, like the Alek Manoah treatment where you send him down there to PCL or whatever, just to kind of fine-tune his game and make sure he has his proper grips, because it's really hard to fine-tune your game quickly as an all-star closer for a team that's trying to win games right now that unfortunately they're doing everything in their power to not. But still, Edwin is an interesting case where should these struggles continue the way that they've been, you have to wonder at what point do the Mets consider the idea of giving him, a minor league assignment, then bringing him up and seeing if that really makes a change for him. You have to wonder with the way that this Mets pitching staff and overall construction is. They're in Port St. Lucie. They have a lot of great newfound information, and you have to wonder if Edwin would benefit from a situation like that. We'll soon find out in the coming days, depending on next time Edwin pitches, if it's save or non-save, and how he does, of course. And then, the last but not least, Jake Diekman and Jorge Lopez didn't do anything crazy today, but the game was pretty much over by the time it was 9-9. The complete momentum was not in the Mets' favor. It went all to Miami at that point, and as soon as it became a tied ball game, I had zero faith in the Mets in winning said ball game. And why should you, right? There's nothing to justify having more faith in the Mets than what we currently do at the moment. This Metropolitan team has, again, continued to find the most ridiculous and the most asinine ways to lose on a day-by-day, night-by-night basis, to the point that, again, you're having guys like me going out of my way to rant about this team literally on a daily basis right now, once again, as we're only May 19th, because I know this team has talent. I know this team can be so much better than what they are, but they have just been absolutely free-falling so hard lately that they have lost so many games by 2 or less earned runs over the past month, and now yet again today, you lose this one by a final score of 10-9. When you scored 9 runs, you should never lose an effing ball game when scoring 9 runs. And yet, here we go, step right up and meet the effing Mets, baby. I mean, it really takes both a sick-minded individual and a truly diehard fan to go through this nonsense as consistently as we do. And that's why we've been having more vent and rant sessions than anything lately, and even doing live callers, folks. We're going to be doing another live call-in show early next week at this rate. Probably not Sunday, but in the near future with the way this team is playing or lack thereof. I want to hear from you guys. I love hearing you guys rant and hearing what you have to say. We love taking live callers on our post-game coverage. So be on the lookout for that, folks. But beyond frustrated, to say the least, with the way that the Mets continue to underwhelm us and continue to heartbreak us in a new way. Just when you thought the Mets couldn't find more ways to not only drive you nuts, but heartbreak you, they have, of course, done exactly that in a very impressive fashion. Literally, you have to give a tip of the cap to the Mets and how much they managed to heartbreak their fan base. Truly like no other. They are in a class of their own, and that in itself is impressive. And what is also impressive is our amazing sponsor on the channel at BetUS, America's #1 sportsbook. Make sure to check them out today, folks, as we got some big matchups, of course. Game 7's galore, baby. I hope you guys are going to enjoy your Sunday evening watching NBA basketball for your favorite teams, potentially not watching this godforsaken team you call the New York Metropolitans. But if you are planning to dabble in betting, of course, bet responsibly by checking out BetUS. 125% bonus with your first 3 deposits with our link down below with code JOIN, JOIN125 for all your sports betting needs there. But you see the slates right now. The New York Knicks are a heavy favorite at -160. And while I love my Knicks, and while I know both OG Anunoby and Josh Hart are questionable, they will likely play, even though they're probably going to be at anywhere from 65 to 70% if I had to guess health-wise. They're going to do everything they can to win, obviously. And then you got the Minnesota Timberwolves versus the Denver Nuggets. So here's the thing. Biasly, I'm thinking Knicks and Nuggets in this one naturally. But based on the odds as well, I think for the Timberwolves, you can make a great argument to want to hammer that spread. I really like that at +5 for the Timberwolves in an elimination game because, again, even the Nuggets win in the end as the reigning champs, and I do think the Nuggets will win this one ultimately. I can see it being a close ball game, and because of that reason, I do like the Timberwolves spread there at +5 or so. The same way that biasly, I love my Knicks at the Garden. You got to defend home court. So again, whether this is bias or just realization that if you have OG Anunoby, one of the best overall defenders that can cover your 1 through 5 with ease for the opponent, and then Josh Hart that even if he's having really bad, abdomen cramps, is still going to push for 10 plus rebounds, I have to like those odds a little bit at least for the Knicks. So I'm actually going to do 2-pick parlay here, and we'll see again if either hits. If none hits, we'll see again in 24 hours or so. I'm going to put 10 on each individually, and then as a whole for the parlay, I'm going to put down 30, which is going to win me 63. So again, I wish you all the best of luck with all your sports betting, folks. If you'd like to tail these picks, go ahead. Just again, do it at your own risk. I'm no betting expert. I'm just a diehard fan that's been on a heater lately, but also my heater just died because as a biased fan, I like to bet on my Knicks, and the Knicks got absolutely cooked there in Indy. I should have known better, and I still, I honestly didn't realize right away just how hurt Josh Hart was, and that's what cooked me on that front. But we're going to do 30 to 63 there. Again, good luck to everyone that bets, and as always, shout out to our great friends at Sower MLB. But before we get on to wrapping up this show, folks, I just got to let you know a couple more final thoughts here. I know your frustration level is probably through the roof. You're probably saying to yourself, Wardy, I don't even know why I'm bothering to consider being a fan of this team right now. I don't know why I'm even bothering to pay attention. But at the end of the day, the same reason why you pay attention is the same reason I do and we all do. We're diehard fans. We're 5 games below 500. The Mets started the season 0-5, and then they went on a 12-3 run, and all of its Mets fans completely forgot about the 0-5 start for the most part. All it takes is for the Mets to just get things clicking for them to need to be where they need to be, which is why I will argue that it isn't time to panic, but it is absolutely time to still make some proper adjustments. I like Carlos Mendoza's aggressiveness on the offense a lot. Even with Lindor not hitting today in the leadoff, I really like the configuration he had there 1 through 9 as a whole. It was successful. We like that. But where I get more discredit, where I have more concern, and we're going to see this in the coming days, the Mets had great offense today against Braxton Effing Garrett. Who's Braxton Garrett? Exactly. Not a guy that you should be overly concerned with whatsoever. Anytime the Mets have faced any starter that's competent, let alone is above average, they're going to have this team's number. So no, I'm not surprised to see the Mets rake as much as they did today when in the grand scheme of things, they were facing some subpar pitching. Yes, Miami has some solid relievers for sure, but let's keep it a buck. Again, if this is Jesus Luzardo, the Mets lose 10-0, the way that they were absolutely putrid 24 hours ago. So this was a heartbreaking loss to say the least. It is gutted. I'm beyond gutted, but I'm still going to continue my fandom. I'm still going to love this team. I'm going to ride high with them when we were riding high, and I'm definitely going to ride low when they're riding low. But the difference is that I'm not just going to take that and say, okay, that's fine for what it is. I'm going to tell you how it is, and I'm not going to hold anything back. When things aren't going right in Mets land, I absolutely am in favor of changes needing to be had if it's over a good stretch of time. And we have seen some changes, more changes need to be had. We're going to find out throughout the course of the 162. But a Mets team 5 games below 500 is still very much so within reach of the final wild card spot. That is why the Mets are still going to be pushing for buyers at the trade deadline, no matter how much you may suggest otherwise. They may still be sellers too. They can buy and sell by the deadline, folks, believe it or not. That may very well be in their cards. And furthermore, this is a Mets team, again, that knows they have a lot of talent on this roster. It's about putting it together. And holy shit, have they done a fantastic job on doing anything but. So that's going to do it for your show tonight, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. I just ranted for over a half hour straight, acting like I had a live show and a live chat to interact with when I had absolutely nothing. You know, cue the Randy Orton WWE. I hear voices in my head. They talk to me. They talk to me. That's literally me. That's literally me being a sicko of this Mets team and having all these things run in my head. You know, trying to tell myself, Wardy, it's not that bad. You know, we're only 5 games back. And then it's the devil and the angel. You got the devil saying, nope. Things are terrible. The season's over. You're cooked. It's done. Stop covering the team. Then you got the Angels saying, it's okay. We're just 5 games back. We got plenty of things to work with. As you guys can see, I'm going cuckoo watching this Mets team. And I need to go get some damn shut-eye or I'm going to get even worse. So that's going to do it for your boy Wardy. Thank you all so much for watching. Hit that like. Hit that subscribe on your way out if you haven't already, you beautiful schmucks. And I'll talk to you all in the next one. Let's effing go Mets, baby. They drive me crazy. They literally make me act insane. They make me look like I'm not a normal human being because of the way that this team is driving me up a fucking wall. See you again soon.